I got a call from a landowner with a growing population of 13-line ground squirrels in her front yard that were starting to tear things up and make the grass look ugly. 13-line ground squirrel is a rodent that lives in the Wisconsin and Midwest area. They are frequently confused with chipmunks, but as you can see, here's a chipmunk. It's got these two vertical stripes down the side of it. And a 13-line ground squirrel has kind of a speckly long stripes. Also, a chipmunk is much more squirrel-shaped versus a ground squirrel is kind of rat-shaped. And while chipmunks also dig holes in the ground, chipmunks live in small families. By contrast, 13-line ground squirrels live in large colonies, not the size of colonies like the prairie dogs out in the west and thousands of animals, but certainly 20 to 50 animals on your property is not out of the ordinary at all. And as you already know, I prefer to eliminate these animals with the use of air rifles or sometimes shotguns or 22 as well. If you're out in the middle of rural country and there's no close properties, yeah, by all means use a 22 or a 410, something like that. I do prefer air rifles, even in these cases, namely because of the noise factor. A 22, a 410, a shotgun blast, that is going to scare the animals down the holes, and it's going to take some time for them to come back. Versus a shrouded air rifle, you can go ahead and pluck one off, and another one will pop its head up seconds later. So that's what I prefer to use. And you don't need, one of these highly sophisticated air rifles like I have. The Benjamin Trail that I'm reviewing coming up, that would do just as good of a job. That gun is shrouded, it's quiet, it's got good accuracy inside 25 yards. It would do a fine job in this case. Now, I mentioned that I prefer to use air rifles or some kind of gun at least, but it should be noted that poison is very effective on ground squirrels. And most modern day poisons are a version of an anticoagulant. Its generic name is warfarin. It's also known as Coumadin when humans use it. This is a drug given to people if they're at threat to have a stroke or a heart attack. Then this keeps the blood thin to prevent them from having clots inside their arteries. But when given to rodents in high quantity, it causes them to both internal and external hemorrhage. This is actually being used currently on the Galapagos Islands to try to get rid of approximately 180 million rats. Because these rats, these Norway rats, are basically destroying the native wildlife, the very unique native wildlife on the Galapagos Islands. No, the main thing these anticoagulants do is, due to the blood loss, the animal gets incredibly thirsty. They get dehydrated. And the consequence of this is they start to get delirious and seek out water. And this, in my opinion, is where the problems start. And this is why I don't like to use poison. When a rodent is wandering aimlessly out in the open, he is very susceptible to being eaten by a predator, namely raptors. And if the raptors eat these animals, these ground squirrels, with anticoagulant in their blood, they're going to die as a consequence. The people on Galapagos actually addressed this by trying to capture as many of the predators as they could prior to dropping the loads and loads of poison all over the island. So, as effective as these poisons are, and like I said, they are very effective, I would always prefer to use some form of weapon. Plus, let's be honest, guns are just a lot more fun, and there's a lot less to worry about when you're not dropping poison all over your land. I prefer to use a 22 caliber or a 25 caliber. You've seen both different matadors here in this video. This was 2 different times I was out to this property, and to be honest, both work equally well. That said, the 25, as I showed in the Squirrel 22 versus 25 caliber video, the 25 is much more forgiving, meaning that the shot placement doesn't have to be perfect and I still get a very clean kill on the animal. But that doesn't to say that 22 doesn't do its job. Here's a shot with a 22 put right in the spot where I wanted it, and you can see the animal goes down without even a twitch. And by now you probably noticed that I'm not slowing these down. Well, I think YouTube has an issue with the slow motion shots. I think what I refer to as insight and data, they refer to as gratuitous violence. So what I'm going to do from now on is at the end of this video and in the video description, you can find a link to an unlisted video with all the slow motion shots. So by having it unlisted, hopefully this will keep it away from those who wouldn't want to see an animal get shot. Yeah, I know there's the issue of how do they actually come across the video of something they don't like in the first place, but we're going to give this a shot for the next few hunting videos and see if it doesn't work out okay. This way, everybody's happy. Hopefully. And unlike a lot of other rodents, ground squirrels only give birth one time a year. So if you can get out there in the springtime before they have their pups, which is, by the way, about 10 at a time, I mean, if you can put a pellet on them before that happens, you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble down the line. This shot right here, this took out about 10 or 11 ground squirrels with one bullet. And again, this is why guns can be very effective to control their population. In fact, I've eradicated them from numerous properties, with the use of firearms or air rifles over the past years. It isn't really that difficult so long as you stick with them and keep after them, 2 or 3 visits, you'll eventually get them all. And per my usual philosophy, nothing goes to waste. I collect these up after shooting them, give them to the local farm cats. They're a personal favorite. They don't look too tasty to me, but the cats really love them. And compared to a bird, there's actually quite a bit of meat on these things. That'll wrap this one up, guys. As I mentioned before, if you're interested in seeing the slow motion shots, go ahead and follow the link in the video description or at the very end of this video. Otherwise, until next time, take care, guys, and thank you for watching.